For the first time in the history of this channel, I'm surprised at my own opinion. Three Houses was my 2019 Game of the Year, and I absolutely love it, but in choosing to do a gameplay review, I realised that the gameplay is, well, serviceable. Let's clarify a few things first. Three Houses was my first tactical RPG, and the reason why I fell in love with the genre, but now that I've played other TRPGs, I realised that I love the genre, and not necessarily the game. I've come to realise that, for me at least, TRPGs are a lot like FPSs. They're all wildly different artistically and narrative-wise, but at the end of the day, the gameplay feels similar across the board, or grid in this case. So, while it's cheating, I think I'll do a mini review of tactical RPGs in this video, as Three Houses was my first one, and I don't think there's a better excuse than that. TRPGs deliberately base themselves on a wildly imaginative version of chess, and there's no better way to describe how I feel playing a TRPG than a chess master. I love the dynamic decision-making that happens in every battle. For example, who do I group up to send to this objective? Can I send someone as backup to reinforce a more minor party? Can this team realistically take down this battalion? I absolutely adore how much movements play into all these micro-decisions every time you take the field. It feels so much like an authentic battle that's actually happening, unlike turn-based games which require a suspension of disbelief that this is actually a fight to the death. And though this section of my review is relatively short, this is the majority of the gameplay, so please know that it's utterly disproportionate to how much fun you'll have with the game. The splitting of your forces into smaller squads makes it so you feel like those characters are forming a bond together, which brings us back to Three Houses specifically. The bond building system in Three Houses is superb, where it feels just as rewarding to level up the mechanic as it does to reap the benefits. While the support conversations fall in the story review category, let me just say that it's a massive, expensive effort, and well worth it, especially with voice acting. Persona! There are so many ways to build bonds between your characters, and it's so easy to do so that it's kind of pointless to utilize most of them, when the most efficient way is to just play the game. Don't get me wrong, I like that I can have dinner with my students, creepy as that may be, but in my playthroughs where I neglected the monastery's facilities, I still ended up maxing out everyone's bond just by having them battle in groups. I didn't even actively try to build relationships, it just happened. The one exception with relationship building is the MC. It's pretty hard for Byleth to level up with their students through osmosis and battle, so that's where the best non-combat mechanic comes into play. Tea time. It's such a quaint activity, yet behind the screen I'm constantly squealing with delight at how cute it is. Maybe it's because it's with the person I'm trying to romance, or a character that I really like, but this is just such an excellent feature. But other than tea time, the whole Garrig Mark feels really lame. Whether it's the obligatory fishing minigame or the god-awful fetch quests. None of it feels engaging, and is it a good thing when I'm only engaging with these mechanics so I can get more character development? Should the story be the reward for the gameplay, or should the gameplay be the reward for the story? Well, neither, they should both be excellent, and they both are in Three Houses, because the primary gameplay isn't these side systems, because they all feed back into the combat. Something that is unique to Three Houses combat is the demonic beast battles. These creatures feel like absolute Goliaths, and when one of them engages your party, you have to reorganize your plan immediately, because you're going to need a lot of heavy hitters to fell these titans. My favourite beast battle is the final boss of Crimson Flower, but since that's unnecessary spoilers, I'll use the Wind Caller as an allegory. Not only is it necessary to split up your party to even get to the caller intact, but the way it demolishes your already weary party is brutal. You really do need to save your last hurrah for just this one creature, and it's almost impossible not to lose one of your party members against this colossus. back to Garreg Mach, I did make it seem like a lot of this stuff is superfluous, and from a gameplay point of view, it is, but it does absolute wonders for world building. It's just not necessary to engage with it to win. And maybe on the maddening difficulty, you're forced to fish every single day just to stay alive. I don't know. It's just, late in the game, when I find myself grinding on most days, I feel like something has gone wrong in the design phase. But there are some really cool systems in this game, two in particular that I want to touch on. The first is teaching classes. I love how every unit in this game can be molded into whatever you want them to be, but further still, I adore how they can diegetically wish to change on their own accord. For example, early in my Black Eagles playthrough, Ferdinand wished to change his class to a Fortress Knight so that he could try to beat Edelgard at her own game. And when Felix reached the highest pure sword class he could, he asked if he could learn a little magic to become a mortal savant, although he whined about it in the next class and made me switch him back just to sword lessons, but that's totally in character for him. It feels like these are actual students who want to grow and learn and become better. It's so well realized that the term units feels derogatory. The second mechanic I really love is recruitment. If there's a character you love, reuniting with them is such a special feeling, and it's so interesting seeing how they interact with their new housemates. It's a skill that takes a lot of work on the player's part to achieve, especially since you don't have the whole game to do it. You really only have time to get 2 or 3 characters you really want. Which is fantastic because I would hate it if I had a massive in-game party that doesn't share experience points, forcing me to replay mindless battles over and over again. Triangle strategy! None of the negatives I've mentioned in this video really matter all that much, but there is one significant negative that I'd like to touch on, and for some, but definitely not most players, this is a big one. The way the Black Eagle route splits. I won't give any specifics, but you must fill a certain requirement in order to unlock a secret route in 3 houses, and it's not done well at all. It's an easily missable event in which you have to speak to Edelgard on a specific day, and the game gives you no reason as to why you should do so. You watching this video, how did you hear about the Crimson Flower route? Because I would be astounded if anyone aside from a rare few discovered the split through natural gameplay. The problem here is that it's such a significant choice, and all the optional requirements, even to get the option to choose what you want, could have easily been a part of the main campaign. Fire Emblem Three Houses is still my game of the year 2019. I still adore this game for its characters and world building, and from a gameplay perspective, there's a lot to love. But now that I've played other games in the same genre, I'm saddened to realize that the game isn't as special as I thought.